More Eagle! Welcome to the Auburn Tigers Football Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brett Mason and Jamie Thomas.
Here we go, our second ever podcast for the 2015 season, Auburn, Alabama football. I am Brett Mason, along with my co-host, Jamie Thomas. War Eagle, sir.
Roll Tide, buddy, roll Tide.
We'll be talking about Auburn this podcast and running down our predictions, I guess my predictions. And then once again, as always, Jamie will tell me everywhere that I'm wrong. He's really good at that. I got to tell you, first off, thanks if you're listening to one of the many ways that you can subscribe to the podcast. We are available on iTunes, YouTube, the TuneIn app. iHeart should be available shortly, and Stitcher is up for approval as well. And we also have an iOS app that you can download for free. To get to any of those things, whether you're searching for the podcast to subscribe to or whether you're looking for the app to download, you just need to search for Tigers and Tide Show. Actually, it'll come up if you just
put... What the heck is Stitcher?
Stitcher is because, people who have Android devices, God bless them, it's hard for them to subscribe to iTunes and stuff. So Stitcher kind of fills that role for our Android friends.
All right, you say so.
So, so if you need to figure all that out, any of our podcast posts that are on the website at southeasternfootball.com, you can just click on the podcast, and at the top of every one of those articles with a podcast, there's links to all that stuff. We've made it easy for you. I said all that to say this. Last week, for our first week, we just completely blew the doors off of the start of last season. For some reason, the Auburn crowd was a little bit more interested in our first week of podcasting, but I think we wound up with and this is just downloads and streams that I can track. It's not the ones I can't track, like from TuneIn and some other places. But we're looking between the two at around between 500 and 600 total.
Wow,
which is about where we end.
People are really bored.
Yeah, well, we haven't had any football since January. What do you expect, man? Yeah. People are desperate for anything. It's so bad. As a matter of fact, today I was watching the top 10. What they had is the top 10 games of the SEC for last year. They had the Auburn Ole Miss game as the number 2 game of last year. I think the Alabama LSU game was considered the number 5 game last year. So I watched football all day today, but it was games I'd already seen. But that's just how desperate I am for football. So what we're going to try to do is see if we can run down the depth chart. I think there's a couple of interesting things possible in the Auburn lineup this year. I think a lot of them are foregone conclusions. So probably a lot of this will be really boring. We'll start out with offense, and let's go to wide receivers first. I think there's very little doubt that your Duke Williams and Ricardo Lewis are probably going to be the guys that they're going to lean on pretty heavily. I think in 3 receiver sets, I think the sophomore Jason Smith will probably get the call on that, but it gets sketchy after that. I mean, we got Melvin Ray, who's a senior this year, who did pretty good last year. He could be the go-to receiver in 3 receiver sets. Either way, all those guys are 2s. I mean, it's pretty much going to be on Duke Williams and Ricardo Lewis. Ricardo Lewis, who came up with some big passes at opportune times, has just never really been consistent, even last year. So if he put it all together this year, him and Duke Williams could be a force, especially with a quarterback that can pass this year. I'm looking forward to watching that. Maybe some more high flying stuff.
You got a three wide out set. I agree with you on Duke, Ricardo, Marcus Davis. All 3 of those guys are going to be playmakers. Where I don't agree with you is I think Melvin Ray is going to be a pretty good ball player for Auburn this year. He's tall, he's fast, he can get up and catch the ball. Man, I'm telling you, it's scary. I think this is the deepest position on the team for Auburn, and it's insane.
Well, there's a toss-up between him and Smith for me, but he's good. He was good last year. He's been getting better. He's a senior. He's going to be, he knows the system, and he has the potential to be scary. To me, after Duke and Ricardo, it's just gravy after that. Hopefully, several of those guys will step up. What do we want to talk about? Let's talk about guards. I think guard is pretty locked in. That's not a surprise with Alex Kozan back. hopefully he's going to live up to all the hype. Had the back injury and was out all last season. I saw an interview where a couple of weeks ago where they said that he was still trying to get up to speed at the end of spring practice. He was still having problems getting up to speed. So, boy, I tell you, for some reason he doesn't get up to 100% after that back injury. That's going to be interesting because then, we have a senior there, Danzy's his name.
Devontae Danzy.
Yeah, and I think he'd be okay, but boy, they really are wanting Kozan to step up and be the hoss that they're expecting there. So hopefully that's going to pan out, but that's still kind of up in the air. From everything that I can read, it's tough to come back from a back injury, depending on what the back injury is.
Especially playing football, bending over. The back is is a critical piece of the body when it comes to playing football. One bad hit, and he could be done again.
The other guard position is where we have a little bit, I think, not quite as great options. We have a sophomore and a junior. I think Braden Smith will draw the short straw there, but I don't know. I think it's up in the air a little bit there. It's kind of hard for me to make a decision. I don't know if you know anything about either of those guys. Nevertheless, we don't nearly have options like we do with the other two guys.
Two sophomores is what I've got there. I got Braden Smith and Dion Mix, both sophomores. Neither one of them have seen a huge amount of playing time. Mix was moved from center in the spring, so this will be the first time actually playing guard in live contact football if he does indeed get that chance.
Yeah, and speaking of center, that's the other interesting situation we had. I think at the end of the last year, I remember Xavier Dampier was really talking up his game, and he was going to be fighting for that position. But they had this Golson over from Ole Miss who moved for family reasons or whatever, and this is his first year eligible. But now everybody, the staff at Auburn and the staff at Ole Miss has talked about him like he's a guaranteed NFL kind of guy. So,
Dampier, he had some issues in the shotgun, didn't he? Did he have some snaps that went over the head?
Dampier had issues, I think, every time that he was in. But Reese Disputes was. Man, he was the golden boy, and he had some issues too. So, I think we had a lot of issues last year when we shouldn't have. But Reese Disputes was a rock, man. He didn't miss a game. He was always there. He was always healthy, and it's very sad that he had the issues he had there in the home stretch of the season last year. It kind of sullied his name a little bit, but he was a hoss. He's going to be hard to replace, but hopefully this Golson is going to live up to it. He's a sophomore. If he does live up to the hype, maybe we would get 2 good years out of him, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
What else are we going to talk about? I don't think there's anything else really super interesting about the offense. The quarterback is, there's nothing really to talk about there.
You didn't talk about Sean Coleman at left tackle, man. You talking about offensive line, you got to talk about Sean Coleman.
Oh, did we skip him? I thought we talked about both tackle positions. Did we skip those?
You talked about the guards.
My bad. Yeah, Sean Coleman is a beast. Yeah, maybe that's why I skipped over that. Yeah, I think he's going to be left tackle for sure. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I like Avery Young too. I think Avery Young will be the other tackle as well. Was there something interesting about that you wanted to point out, or you just pointing out my ignorance and skipping over?
I just you got Auburn fans there. Everybody wants to talk about Sean Coleman. He's going to be the key to Jeremy Johnson's success, I believe, especially with the drop back, throwing the football. He's got to have that protection, and who else would you want over there other than Sean Coleman?
No, I think it's a foregone conclusion. I didn't mean to skip over that position. I just thought we'd already covered it for some reason. I'm just an idiot or whatever. But yeah, absolutely. But it will be interesting to see what the I can't wait to see a couple of games, see what the offense looks like. I think that's one of the things when I was looking at just a couple of these positions on the offensive line, depending on what kind of offense they run, I think makes the decision between a couple of different guys where it could go either way. But I think they're still going to try to be a probably run-heavy some kind of option kind of thing anyway. I don't know. I mean, everybody's expecting, like I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and he's expecting the Auburn offense to be a light them up down the field offense all year, and I don't think Gus is going to go to that. I'm not even sure they have the capability to do it. I mean, we got a lot yet to see out of Jeremy Johnson, so I don't know. I mean, he's obviously a better passer than Duflunky was last year. I've already forgotten his name. How bad is that?
Nick Marshall.
But that ain't saying a lot, you know. I mean, I got high hopes for him, but, I mean, none of that's proven. I mean, he could fall apart, and the next thing you know, we're just counting on him to do the read option again, and let's not. Who knows?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, if they air it out or if they take advantage of the running backs they have. You know, you got a big bruising running back in Rock Thomas in the backfield. The dude can lower his shoulder. He can run around you. The battle between him and Jovan Robinson, those are two really good running backs that are going to be competing for time there, and it's going to be interesting to see what Malzahn does, if he throws the ball or if he goes back to or goes to a 3 yards and a cloud of dust type offense and takes advantage of his workhorses.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a battle too. I think we'll see Malzahn and them do what they've done the past 2 years or 3 years, maybe really, is the first few games. I think you'll probably see Thomas and Robinson kind of split the carries up until one of them pulls away from the other one. I know in the spring game, I was real excited about Rock Thomas, but when Jovan Robinson got in there and started showing out, man, I really, really liked him. So, it's different styles, obviously. Matter of fact, in that game I was watching today, they put Rock Thomas in a couple times during that game. I thought he was a little bit more of a moves, darting kind of guy, but I saw a couple of those runs he did in that game today that I didn't remember, where he just flattened a couple guys with that straight arm. So, I mean, he does have the potential to just be a workhorse and knock people down and stuff like that, which is a little bit different in my impression of him. Either way, I think that probably it'll be, I don't know, maybe they've already decided who they're going to give the bulk of the carries to, but I think they're going to let them work it out between them over the first few games. That's what Malzahn has tended to do the last few years, I remember Trey Mason.
Yeah, when you get that much talent.
Yeah, Trey Mason, I don't think he was the go-to guy to like game 5 or something. So we'll just have to see how that pans out.
When you've got that much talent, you've got to utilize it.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing is you want to have both of them up and ready in case you decide to lean more on one or the other. The other one's still ready to go if injuries or something happens. I mean, you got to have both of them firing. And I think they add some depth to the backfield, especially since I think the thing that we'll have to see. But I think one of the aspects of the offense that was especially 2 years ago was pretty heavy. Last year not as much, but the tight end halfback type role, we don't really have a beast there anymore. I mean, I think we had a couple of freshmen that are up for maybe filling that slot, that Petaway and I can't think of the other guy's name. Cox.
Chandler Cox.
Yeah. So, I think that aspect of the game is not going to be as heavily emphasized. I could be wrong, though. I mean, those guys could step up and be awesome, but I think that whole aspect of the offense is going to go away, or at least be greatly reduced. We got the backfield to handle it, and they can scheme for it. Malzahn can scheme for anything, but nevertheless. Defense, a couple of interesting things on defense. We'll start with the defensive ends. First, we have Carl Lawson, who hopefully is just going to be a beast. God, he has such high expectations on his head. I think he'll live up to them, but we'll see. We didn't see him last year. He was out for injuries. Another one of those big time guys we were counting on who was out with injuries. So we'll see what he does this year. I think the more interesting is going to be on the other side, where I get this Devontae Lambert, who I had penciled in over there. He's a senior. I thought he was going to be the guy, but now you got this Byron Cowart, this 5-star freshman that come in. I was reading a couple of comments from the other day about how he could just step in and play right away. He could just be that awesome. So I could be wrong about that. I mean, he could be the guy going forward. He's got the size of the chops, and it looks like the real deal. But you got to get those freshmen out there and see what they do.
I've been hearing a lot about Byron Cowart. They've a lot of Auburn fans expecting him to come in and be an immediate playmaker and contributor.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just one of those things. I'm just leery. I mean, I'm hopeful, man, but things like that, you don't know. You don't know until he gets out there, We'll just have to see. But, I mean, I had Lambert penciled in ahead of him for that position. That's kind of what I thought it was going to be, but I could be completely wrong about that. It wouldn't be the first time. Of course, tackles, we got, I think, we're not in horrible condition with this Montravius Adams. I don't know so much about Russell, and I can't pronounce his name. I just know his name's Russell. We got him in there. He's a freshman.
Dontavius.
Yeah, Dontavius. He's a freshman, but I think he's probably going to be the guy there. I don't know. We have a junior, that Devereaux Lawrence. But I think the freshman's going to get the nod there, which makes that whole thing interesting. It's going to be weird to see what we see from a defensive position, because everything being switched up and what people are being expected to do versus what we had expected them to do in the past. To me, that's something that's kind of hard to predict. So we'll just have to see. Nevertheless, linebackers, I feel really good about Casanova, McKenzie, and Chris Frost. I mean, obviously they're going to be the guys that get the call there. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Jonathan Jones, corner, or safeties. I think those are pretty much foregone conclusions as well. That Jonathan Ford's a junior. Trey Matthews, who I really liked last year. I mean, he showed a lot of promise. I think he could have been a heck of a lot better. But he not last year, but year before last. But then, this is another one of those guys who we took not just us, but you see these teams taking chances on guys. He's a take a chance on kind of guy. So we'll see how it pans out. I don't know how much you know about him, but I think he's going to get the nod. We'll see. He didn't have a lot of time at Georgia. Didn't play a lot at Georgia before he was out, but this will be his first year eligible back, but I think he's going to be the guy there. Who did I leave out that I didn't mention? I haven't heard you object to any of those last few that I did. Oh, Joshua Holster.
I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with Auburn secondary. Anything's got to be better than what they had last year and the year before.
Yeah, 2 years running, brother. Maybe you could go back farther than that if you really wanted to. Holsey's the other guy I mentioned, though. Jonathan Holsey, senior, I think hands down is going to handle that corner position. I thought he could have had a bigger year last year. I was really expecting him to do more last year, but this is his senior year. I think he's going to be fine. Probably the least exciting part of the whole thing is I think once again this year we're going to have this Daniel Carlson doing everything, kicking and punting and field goals, and I don't like that, man. I think more interesting, we'll see who we do with kick returns, punt returns, and stuff. I think Rock Thomas is going to draw the short straw on that, along with Ricardo Lewis, but I could be wrong. We don't have, last year we had this Quan Bray guy who could come in and run from the slot. He could do in the passing scheme. He could be lined as wide receiver. He did some punt returns, kickoff returns, and he was a guy that could go all the way at any given time. I'm not sure we have that guy this year, unless it would be Rock Thomas.
Well, you got Rock Thomas, you got Duke Williams. You could see back there fielding kicks or punt kickoffs. You've got plenty of speed. I mean, you got Peyton Barber. He's he can take kickoffs if he wanted to. He's got enough speed. He's your third guy at running back, kind of the odd man out with Rock and the other guy. I've already forgot his name.
Robinson. Yeah.
Robinson. Yeah. But he's Peyton Barber. Is that's some good talent right there. That's the thing about this Auburn offense, man. And even some of the guys they've recruited on defense here lately, they've got a lot of speed, a lot of playmakers, a lot of athletes. And that's what you want to have on special teams. You want to have guys that can catch the ball and can make something happen.
Yeah, and that's another one of those things that's going to be remain to be seen. Again, I got some. I'm sure you got Alabama friends like this too, but I got some Auburn friends. It's just every year, man. Everybody in every position they think it's just the greatest thing ever. It's just like they're gonna. Yeah. I mean, and it doesn't matter.
First team All-American.
Absolutely, and I'm sitting here telling them like, man, it's just. I feel good about a lot of what we got, but there's a lot of things that are just up in the air, man, and I just don't know how you can feel that good about it. We got to see some boys do some stuff first. There's a lot of folks in there that haven't proven themselves yet. They got a lot of potential, but how many years have you seen people with potential go down the tubes?
all the time.
It happens a lot. So maybe I'm just one of those guys that don't like to be disappointed. That's my thing. If you don't get too excited up front, you can't be too disappointed. Maybe that's my problem.
Well, I'm the same way when it comes to Bama. I like to get those first couple of games up under the belt, see how it looks, and then start boasting and bragging about what we got.
Absolutely. So you think I was way wrong on any of that? You think there's something I might have missed out on that? I mean, it's like, again, a lot of those things I think could go one or two ways.
No, I don't think so. I mean, defense is up in the air. Of course, you've got a few guys that are going to start, that are going to be on the field, but it's going to be kind of hard to tell until you get into camp and you see how these guys respond to Muschamp and how they respond on the field. With Muschamp's coaching the first couple of games of the season. I mean, really, you just never know who your go-to guys are going to be until the second week of fall camp.
Absolutely. And if you're a rabid Auburn fan there and you're thinking about, man, when fall camp starts and we start seeing word come out from the camp, we're getting ready for opening kickoff, and who should I be watching? And I think there's probably 2 or 3 guys in there that we really should be trying to learn all we can about, and we mentioned them in the rundown. But I think Kozan is one of them. I mean, is he going to be 100% back up to speed? Because he has the potential to be huge. This Austin Golson, I think, this transfer from Ole Miss, we'll see how he pans out. If you don't have the center, and I don't know how many people realize this, but in the Gus Malzahn offense, the center is a lot like the quarterback. He calls a lot of things, and so that's a lot to ask of, especially a new guy coming in. So.
He's your snap count. He's your blocking signs. He's really, in that type of offense, is calling, the play audibles. I mean, yeah, he's the leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's a lot. You got ball security and getting the ball from point A to point B as part of it, but he's just got a lot of other responsibilities. So we'll see how that pans out. I think that's going to be up in the air. I hope he's going to be okay. And I think all eyes will probably be on this Byron Cowart. We'll have to see if he lives up to the hype. But I think those will be things. First few weeks, we head into fall camp, getting ready for first week of kickoff. I mean, that's what I'm going to be watching out for. Those 3 names, what I'm going to be watching out for. Nevertheless, it don't matter. Put anybody on the field, brother. Let's just kick off and go. That's all.
Absolutely.
Let's just go.
Time to strap up and knock heads.
All right. Hey, I got to tell you, we also, if you're for some reason you're an Alabama fan and you just happen to be listening to this because you're a glutton for punishment, we also do an Alabama podcast. You can check us out. All those are always announced on our Alabama fan page, which you just search for Alabama football on SEF, and you can find it there. And links to all that are on our website at southeasternfootball.com. And we'll be doing, a matter of fact, we'll be running down starting lineup predictions for Alabama in our second week podcast there as well, so you make sure you check that out. And of course, my Alabama expert will be along with me, Jamie Thomas, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, brother. Good job.
All right, man. Roll Tide.
War Eagle.
Thanks for listening. Download our free iOS app. Just search for Tigers and Tide in the App Store. And subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio. Just search for Tigers and Tide. And for the latest SEC news, log on to southeasternfootball.com.